Okay, hello, assalamu alaikum. So today we are going to initiate our third session on basically the open source connect Bangladesh. So today with me we have Saim Safdar. So let me connect Saim to the stage and yeah, this. So hey Saim, how are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much
Yeah,
for inviting me on this insightful conversation. And I'm
yeah,
happy to chat with you around anything what I actually be working on and how can I
yeah.
help you and people understand what they actually need to work in what their goals
Mhm.
should be moving forward.
Yeah,
So what do you Mr.
yeah. Did you? I just couldn't hear the last word.
No, no, I just say over to you now.
Oh, okay, sure. So yeah, I was just asking you like, how are you? Yeah,
I'm great, actually. Wonderful.
yeah,
And
yeah.
there's some busy stuff going on because of some
Mm-hmm.
of the QCon and the
Yeah, KubeCon is
conferencing.
approaching, right?
Yes, but it's great. The weather is being changing here. We are actually
Mm-hmm.
approaching the winter time frame, and we bypass the wettest
Mm-hmm.
summertime, and it's been very cool right now. It's been a good weather.
Yeah. So are you attending the KubeCon China? This one?
Yes, I was planning to, but
Mm-hmm.
hopefully there are. I'm hoping there not
Mm-hmm.
some stuff going on. But actually, I'm thinking about planning. Hope to be
Mm-hmm.
there for the very first time.
Yeah. Okay. Fingers crossed. Let's see. Okay. So let's start with our session. Like, could you please introduce yourself? Like, what are you doing right now? And like, yeah, all about the stuffs currently going on. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Why not? So, hi, people, everybody listening to me right now. My name is Saim Safdar, and I'm currently working I am the co-founder of Cloud Native Islamabad community. I co-founded this community way back 2020, I guess. It's been 3 years now because we all actually been stuck inside the room during the COVID time. None of the traveling happening, none of the meetups happening there. And there are new wave of technologies being actually coined at that time, and people are figuring out what are the best way to tackle those challenges, how to learn these new technologies, because they required a roadmap. Without
Mm-hmm.
having a roadmap, you can't actually excel your career into these native Kubernetes and container stuff. So way back in 2020, I started this community called Cloud at Islamabad, as a purpose
Mm-hmm.
and motivation is only one: to teach students around the world, plus in Pakistan, Islamabad, where I'm actually living, to educate them around the prerequisites set up in order to be efficient and be productive in this cloud native paradigm. So that was a motivation. And then I started, I think, Cloud Native FM podcast on YouTube, that specifically to the technologies, and a very hardcore debate around platform engineering and the newest, latest trend being shown in the cloud native ecosystem. So that's all about me, but I will go over to you now. If you have some connect question, so I'll start answering those.
Okay. Sure. So okay, that's really awesome because I also started my Cloud Native Bangladesh just following you. I still can remember like you actually reached out to me over Twitter, which is now recently X platform. So you were like, yeah, Mitul. So I don't see Bangladeshi folks in this community basically. So what are your plans regarding this? So we had a call. So yeah, I also have that. Meeting photo also in my featured Facebook profile. So yeah, like we were talking about Cloud Native Bangladesh. So it's really great that we started the Cloud Native Bangladesh, and yes, so that was really awesome that you helped me. Okay, that's awesome. So as you started, like you were a student back then, I guess, when you started with this, but how you thought of kind of working with Cloud Native, because it's not like, yeah, obviously anyone can start, right? The technologies you need to know about networking and so on and so forth. So what is your motivation and how you started basically? Because something you need to have a starting point, right? So how it all started for you? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. And number one, I think I really appreciated your effort being pouring in bringing cloud native stuff into your country. I think that's very, very important. It's not just about the technology; it's a very huge business around that, and you can actually make good earning around that. It's not just about we talking about technology and the stuff, because the business that we're speaking is actually running on top of those technologies. And if you are efficient and communicating and learning this stuff, that's super important. That's basically actually help you a lot. And Mitchell is actually is on a mission to motivate people and educate people around cloud and stuff. That is super inspiring. And answering your question, I think right now the biggest motivation for me back then is I started my career in 2016, 17 in on development. I'm a front end developer, full stack developer, and transitioned to front end to full stack in 2018, I guess. And then I changed my role from full stack to DevOps. But remember, I'm not very good at in actually implementing the technology, but I am very good at communicating people around what the stuff is, how they work under the hood. That's what I'm really looking forward to. And when there's a COVID time came up, everybody locked down. There's no offices. There's no traveling. You have a lot of time to pull in some extracurricular activities that become beneficial for you in a longer run. So that is a motivation factor, because right now is this traveling stop. Previously we have done a lot of traveling, 1 to 2 hour dedicated. From morning you actually woke up early and then go to the office and then came back. You have a very low energy after you have spent 6 7 hours in the office and 2 hours in the traveling, the 9 hours. And then you needed battery charging yourself in order to be fully charged and do other stuff. And that's other stuff requires substantial amount of work. Now we're actually in a home during COVID time. And now I'm thinking everybody is in a home, not just me. Even people from Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, even from US, UK, everybody stuck it at home. So basically, is everybody open to communicate with one another? So that's a driving factor. I saw the need of to build community at that specific time. So that was a very good time when I'm starting it. I think the one of the driving factor and the motivation factor was is now, let's say if I'm not good at the technical and the implementation detail of the tech, what are the different areas I can pursue my career? So that I saw the open source is becoming a thing. And open source is, I think a lot of the student doesn't know about the implication of this open source. Let's say if you're a student and now you are actually guiding you to career towards a path, like you want to be now you actually have a 4 year full-time education in the university, and after graduation from the university you want to be an engineer, DevOps or SRE or developer or the tester. But remember, those are the great things we are actually planning for. But in open source, without actually, now you in open source, if you work in open source, those open source technologies is actually used by the billion-dollar companies like Microsoft, AWS, Google.
Mm.
When you
Yeah.
start contributing to those technologies that are backed by the bigger player of the game, then you actually become visible to the bigger audience, a bigger players. And that's where you actually somebody actually look at your contribution and give you some very good opportunities to work in a bigger organization. I think I don't know how to tell people in a small amount of time, but remember that is actually this part. This is the strategy is been working very efficiently for a lot of the engineers out there. If you look at all of the, I saw some of the student in 2020. What they did was they started contributing to the open source, and they started
Mm.
contributing to the tools like Kubernetes, Docker. They contributed to Canico. They contributed to Containerd. They contributed to service mesh like Istio and Linkerd. They contributed to Grafana and Prometheus. All of these are open source technology, but those technologies are used by bigger player of the in the game. And if they saw
Mm-hmm.
your contribution in the open source, what they do was they actually acquire you and they communicate with you like you did this kind of contribution in the past. Is there
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity for you to work with us in a longer run in stabilizing our tech stack for our customers? That is the journey is faded for this part of the world we're communicating with Mitchell right now. The audience is right now is Bangladesh. So that is
Mm-hmm.
faded from a lot of the university student. I'm thinking, and Mitchell is right thinking, how do we tell people like this is a roadmap? Is we need to
Yeah.
follow that. So now we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about the roadmap. Mitchell, can you ask if you have some question around how to follow this roadmap and the task of course?
Yeah, sure. I guess so. This question should address, right? Like how to follow this roadmap, right? So
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think that right now, if you are a student and you're working and you don't know much about advancement, but you know about development. You know how to
Hmm.
make a very fancy application and make it open to the public, and the people will go to the HTTPS and hit that enter button, and you go to the website. You know the process, how the process works. You know how the JavaScript rendered in the browser. You know how the database actually connect with the JavaScript to do a dynamic pushing and pulling of things in the fancy rendered page in the web browser. You know those
Hmm.
kind of stuff, but you don't know about stuff like Kubernetes. You don't know stuff like containerization. You don't know stuff like how the images and can like container images or Docker Hub things. You don't know these kind of stuff. So that is actually a challenge for you. But good thing is you have existing knowledge of building application that render in the browser and do things in a very
Hmm.
fancy way that you already know. Now you need to understand how I can actually make this application that is actually working in a browser to make it a containerized. So basically, what you actually do is you look at the containerization technology, you come up with a Docker. Docker is the first thing, or the containerization tool. That is the first thing
Hmm.
that came up in your browser history when you're searching those terms. The next thing you need to understand is how my existing application will end up in a containerization technology like Docker. How do I containerize webs is JavaScript tooling? How I containerize let's say .NET in the .NET in the backend, and how do I containerize Redis a cache, and how do I containerize MySQL as a database? How these four pieces works together in a container with a single command, so that's actually deployed on the containerized container. Now people ask question like, in a university we don't have to leverage or liberty
Hmm.
to understand those
Yeah.
technologies, and I think that
Yep.
is quite ask everybody asks question. And I think if you are actually nerdy and you know your track, you know your heart and your mind, this is a silly question, because right now nobody, even not me, learn this stuff from university. That is the
Yeah.
stuff we learn from community in YouTube or in
Yeah.
Udemy courses or Pluralsight courses, or you see people what they're actually putting in the LinkedIn and Twitter handles. That's the
Hmm.
stuff coming from their end. So now the question is, how do I actually learn about these stack if they're actually not teaching in university?
Yeah.
That's a not a good question actually. The good question is, who is the right person in the world west of internet can teach me containerization technologies? So that's
Hmm.
a good question to ask. In order to is answer those questions, sometime you've come up with your free courses, and sometime you came up with a paid courses. So if you have a
Hmm.
free course, I think you can start with the free courses. And if you get a deeper dive understanding of, then you can purchase the paid course in Pluralsight or Udemy or a bunch of other places as well. Code Cloud is actually giving you a free subscription for 1 week, starting from
Yeah. Recently.
25th of September to next full week. So you can actually
Hmm.
go and enjoy this free week because that has some wonderful courses for you. So if you are actually
Yeah.
interested in learning about these technologies, every time somebody came up with a free week or free month or 15 week
Hmm.
of free trial, so that's where you can actually start smoothing in it. So I think a university student basically don't know the value of learning in public. They don't know the
Yeah.
value of contributing to the open source, and they don't know like how how do I actually I make a timetable that give me a liberty to actually contribute to the open source tool stack. So I saw people actually wasting time on plenty of bad things, and they don't have, and then they have an excuse like, oh, we don't have enough time for the open source contribution. That's
Yeah.
again a very vague and silly question. This good question is, I know open source, I know what the value they can actually bring in, And I think you can
Mhm.
actually understand what is open source. Open source is not just an open thing. Open source is where the technology is built, and those technologies is actually run businesses. So if you have some contribution to the tool that actually run businesses, you don't put your CV in publicly. Everybody look in the open source repo and then they call you up. That's happened to me. That happened to so many other people in the internet. So that's
Yeah.
important. So I think the next question, by like student asking, like, why, which technology I want to contribute? Like, I just only know the open source side. I just only know, let's say, front end and the back end, and I don't
Mhm.
actually very good at that back end, but I'm a very good at the front end. Now I only know front end. Where are the places I can contribute? That is a good question. Now if you look at the open source, some tooling have their visual UIs. If you look at the Linkerd tool, Linkerd has the UI. If you look at the
Mhm.
Argo CD, they have the UI. So if, and these are the open source tools. If you want to contribute, and if you're good at in the front end part of the skill set, look at
Mhm.
the initial issue in their Git repo and see where I can contribute, and then start putting your skill on the repo. Then other people can know your skill set. So that is one of the way you think about it. If you just only knows about how to render fancy stuff in the browser, look at the UI of the open source project that has some UIs, look at their issues, pick one, contribute it, and then let the world know about it. That is the journey you need to take into consideration. So I'm talking too much. Mithul, I'm coming to you
Mhm.
now.
Okay, no, no, that was really informative. So, the this problem that you were mentioning, like learning from the resources or something like that, yeah. So I think sometimes, yeah, you are going to get some good resources, and it's good to start with them from YouTube videos. It might be, but obviously sometimes you might also need to have some investment. I guess some talking about learning from Udemy or something, or Code Cloud platform, because you are going to try out from Code Cloud for 1 week. Maybe you might like it, right? So then you might also try to actually buy the subscription. So these investments are needed. Students do think that the actually the learning they do get from the academics will give them the job or something like that, but universities do prepare us for the high studies rather than for the actually the jobs, right? These jobs are like the technologies we don't actually learn from the universities basically, right? So these are the concepts I think students should get correct, because they are thinking, okay, university is teaching us, we are going with the flow, but they are not actually preparing you for the actually jobs. They are actually preparing for the higher studies maybe, and obviously the basic studies. They can't actually teach you the best of the things in hands-on. It's not going to be possible for the university, because all of the students are not of the same level, and it also varies from university. So this kind of mindset, if students do correct that, okay, so we can learn from the online platform, we can learn from the websites, we can learn from the communities, it would be great for them. And this is something I think students should correct very soon. So yeah, that was a thing. And also, if you talk about you have given us a very valid and way to think. And there's something just to end our session, just before that, I would like to add is like, you are right now a sense of ambassador, right? So before that, when you started like the community, I was talking with you, you had the vision like to be a sense of ambassador from Pakistan or something. So why you wanted to be a sense of ambassador, and like what are the benefit for the students, like the students are watching, they will watch this video after on. So why should they become an intensive ambassador? What are the benefits that can put to your profile? And yeah, something you would like to add.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I think I let me circle back with the communication, and then I will drive into the how the CNCF ambassadorship can give you a lot of the value. I think right now a lot of, like, not in just Bangladesh,
Hmm.
not in just Pakistan, or not just in India or Asian, South Asian, Pacific region, but a lot of the global debate is coming up. Like, do we need a degree to be a successful software engineer? a lot of the question, I think if somebody is watching us, I think there's one question is keeps on revolving even on my head when I'm actually graduating and I'm actually starting teaching some graduated degrees from university. So the question came up in the people mind. I think you have to look at the soft industry, how this operate. It's not just a very like a doctorate thing or the engineering thing where you have a one specific domain where you become an expert at it, and then you end up doing one job for the next 20 years in your expert domain and field. Software is not like that. A
Yeah.
software, you can't look at those. If you are actually treating software like this way, it's very dangerous. Software is actually solving the problem of modern businesses. Like if you have a, let's say if you're working on a company called DHL, and that's
Mhm.
operating wonderfully well in England, how do actually I sell those services into the rest of the world? That's the engineering problem you need to solve. What you do is you prepare an online platform that when people from outside UK can book, can actually purchase things or can actually ship things using DHL. So that's a problem you need to solve. In order to solve this problem, do you go to the university, educate yourself for a year, then came back and solve this problem? The things not work like this way. You have to look at it what engineering is actually universities are teaching you at good at. You don't have prerequisite for the engineering thing. They teach you up so you become in. If you go to the outside world, you're able to
Mhm.
understand what the people are actually, what language people are talking about. So they are
Mhm.
educating you for this thing. They're not educating you for the production level job of operating modern businesses need. That is not good
Mhm.
at it. If they are teaching you this stuff, they are wrong because the modern businesses actually evolve very rapidly. Tomorrow you are working on an open, let's say you're teaching, your university are teaching you Terraform, and
Mhm.
sometime it's actually become a old thing and crossplane came up. And do you actually ask your kid, university, why not crossplane? That's not a good question you are asking your university. So I think you have to create a line between what university's role is and what yours.
Mhm.
University role
Yeah.
is you don't have a prerequisite knowledge that actually you can understand in public what people are talking about. When you came out of the university, all of us able to understand what are people talking about around tech in Twitter, LinkedIn, and different places. And even you can talk to your brother who are actually doing a job at a company. You can understand what language he's talking about. Why? Because the university gave you a prereq knowledge of this. So
Mhm.
you can't ask more question than this. Now your job came from this part. Your job started from this. You have a prerequisite knowledge. You can understand what people are talking about. Now you are up to create your own roadmap. In order to create your own roadmap, you need few things. First up, number one thing is like I can understand what people are talking about. What
Mhm.
is the existing knowledge that university gave me? I can sell this in, and then I can do a job. So I can make some earning out of it. And then I have a earning, then I can understand what is the roadmap, what is the future direction is best future direction for me. So I can make some decisions. Now
Mhm.
you today's world, this is very easy. In my time and the time before, it's very difficult. You would even everyone go for the job. Right now what the best thing is actually, you there are some open source technologies. These open source technologies need some contribution, and 90% of the contribution came from students. And people asking why people, students are contributing to the open source, because student has the knowledge but they don't have opportunities. Now the open source gave them opportunities, and they already
Mhm.
have the knowledge from the universities. But once again I repeat, you have the knowledge but you don't have the opportunities. Open source
Yeah.
give you the knowledge, opportunities, you can actually excel your existing knowledge, and that's where you can start. So the journey starts from this way. You start contributing to the open source project, then there's open source projects. You have a contributing ladder. You start by contributing to as a front end developer, making UI look more prettier, and then you look at it. Oh, there are some bad thing happening from the back end. Let me contribute to the database part as well. So now you actually start contributing to the development side and the backend side and the DB side. Then you came up. Now I'm contributing to the open source project, but the 90% of the people in the rest of the world don't know about this tool I'm contributing to. Then you go to the public and start making outreaching about this tool. Oh, you are working in open, let you have this problem, and you are actually have a running a business out of it, and you look for the paid solution. We have open source solution for you. Let's start actually using our open source contribution so we can have some production usage of our open source tool. Now you're outreaching your tool. Your communication become a great, so your communication become great. So that's where, yes, so that's where you have to start telling about. So you start contributing, you then actually end up evaluating existing tool, existing knowledge, pour into to the open source opportunities. Then the contribution ladder becomes this. You have a development contribution, then you have an outreach contribution. You go to the conferences, letting people know like this is a tool and this is what the problem it solved. Once the community saw like you are doing this stuff great, then you have a ladder become another thing. Now what are the existing, what are the enhancement we want to make into the open source tool? Then you become a, let's say, TOC, technical oversight committee member for that open source tool. So that is the next thing you need to achieve. So once those ladder is actually fulfilled, like contribution signals, or you have a you actually contributed into the front end thing, you have contributed to the outreach part, you contributed to the what are the newest things that actually pour into the newer business, newer open source tooling, what are the newer feature I can add those in. Once those are all met, now you want to become globally visible in some of the places. Then you go for the then you go to the foundations, and foundations actually incubated those tools, and those needs members for to become physically or publicly visible about those tools, and they need some outreach members. So that's where you become a CNCF ambassador, helping Linux Foundation, the CNCM Foundation, making sure the tool they actually incubated inside those foundation are publicly visible to rest of the world. And then they actually gave you the Linux CNCF ambassadorship or other stuff. How this help you? Because all of the tooling that Linux Foundation, the CNC have, runs business for the Microsoft, Google, and AWS. They look
Yeah.
at some of the ambassadors and then they ask you, join our team and help us run our business and help us understand how these tools solve some of the problem our customer facing globally, geologically or globally, though, and we can actually able to solve those. So that is the
Yeah.
full ladder, but you can't trim down the places to be a CNCF ambassador. Might be you can
Yeah.
bypass and become a CNCF ambassador, but the
Yeah.
ladder is actually really helpful. Over to you, Mitchell.
Yeah, that was really insightful. Thank you so much, Saim, I guess. And I would like to add something to end the session before ending the session. That is the you point. That is, I also didn't thought in that way, but that's really valid. Like, yeah, are not specific, or we don't know what is the role of university, right? We are so that we are just blaming, yeah, university don't teach us, university don't get us ready for the job, but we don't know the role about the university. That's really valid. And yeah, I think that's also changing, that's going to change my way of thinking as well. And also talking about the sense of ambassadorship, so it's like, yeah, obviously. And also we have like currently 157 ambassadors, right? So I think I'm only the person who is the kind of the lowest qualified, I guess, something like that, because there are a lot of people like from Apple, Google, Microsoft, so on and so forth. So it's really giving us an opportunity to know also them. And at the same time, also, if you talk about the certification exams, right, all of these are free for us. So if we just want to pursue, we can do that. If we want to go to events, we can get discounts and so on. So we can take this as a motivation. But in the end, as you mentioned, if I want to summarize your talking, so it's obviously we need to have the basics before starting for the cloud native, right? The basic development something, or basic networking, so on and so forth. So before starting that, other than this, all of these things are going to seem messy for us, right? So yeah, thank you so much, Simon, I guess. And if you'd like to add something, you can add. But it was really nice to have some insights from you. Basically, we are South Asian brothers, so we are helping each others, growing our community, cloud community. And yeah, that was really awesome. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation to have some insight about the community. Yeah.
Thank you, Mithil, for having me for this conversation.
Okay. Okay. So I guess we can wrap up now. Thank you so much, Sam. So see you again soon, and so that's how we can end our session. Okay. Bye, Sam. Then. Okay.
Bye bye, everyone.